Western Marx. I ironically came to communism through Christianity. Tolstoy was my introduction to the left, and then I critiqued him through going through Marx and Lenin. It also helped my theology. Wow. Well, that's interesting. I've been saying this forever, and now I'm seeing more people say it, especially with the success of the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. Like, one of the biggest failures of Marxism in the last century was being anti-religion, right? And realizing that even if we're not religious as, like, Marxist academics, realize that religion is a sense of community and it's super important to the people, right? And religion is used like an opium, right? It is used by the ruling class to try and stop people from revolting, but it can be used for the opposite, right? It can sort of be a double-edged sword. And like Catholicism is super important to the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, and there were multiple factions of the Sandinistas, and it was the Catholic faction that ended up winning out because they understood how important people's faith was to, you know, their everyday lives. So they used it to build solidarity, which is something that we're gonna have to do in the U.S. It's something like 72% of Americans are Christian, maybe, and then, like, obviously a large, even more of that are religious. We could probably look that up. I'm sure that's been studied. Let's see here. What percentage of Americans? And this is the kind of stuff you'll do if you major in political science. Like, this is the kind of stuff I had to do, is, like, look up different religious makeups and racial makeups of certain places and calculate how likely people of certain religion and a certain background are to vote Democrat versus vote Republican. It's all very technocratic and boring. In 2019, Christians represented 65% of the total adult population in the United States. 43% Protestant, 20% Catholic, 2% Mormon. Mormon counts as Christian? People with no religious identity, 26% of the population. I know we're using Wikipedia, but give me a break or cut me some slack. Wikipedia is not the best. Judaism is the second largest religion, practiced by 2% of the population. Oh, wow. Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, 1%. I thought Islam would be more. I thought there would be more Muslim people in the United States, but I guess not. Mississippi is the most religious state in the country, with 63% of its adult population described as very religious. My very religious grandparents love Mississippi. So, Mormon is a Christian sect. No way. I did not know that. I really did not know that. Mormon, I thought you said moron. Actually, I was watching some really interesting videos the other day. We can bring these up, too. Hold on. They were on TikTok, and these people followed me back. That looks like a good video. I'm going to give that a like because I love Schizophrenic Reads. Follow Schizophrenic Reads. Right here. But there was this cool channel called Mormon Stories Podcast. So let's watch this one.
What kind of man was Joseph Smith? Really? This person who, it sort of all hinges on that. And then the next question was...
Hold on, can y'all hear? Let me make sure people can... Oh, no, my speakers are off.
If I don't think Joseph Smith was who I my whole life have believed he is, what do I think of the Book of Mormon? Do I think that it is still an accurate record? And if I don't, then there's really no point in being here anymore. So that's sort of where I started with, was just those questions and looking into those on my own and coming up with my own determination that it's more likely in an Occam's razor sense that he's just another person who started a church and he happened to be very successful at it.
Yeah, this guy's got a lot of interesting... I mean, there's a ton of different stories about leaving the Mormon church, and obviously I'm never been Mormon, but it's still interesting to hear people's stories and how similar it is to stories of people from other religious backgrounds.
Just learning more about who Joseph Smith was. I remember having friends tell me about Joseph Smith, and I would go, no, that's not right. And they would go, no, actually it is. They would say, did you know that he was a convicted con artist? Like that he was like convicted for being a con man. And I would go, I don't think so. I think that sounds like what like people who, you know, the people who are against him would maybe have a story of propaganda saying that he's a con artist. That makes sense to me. But then they would say stuff like, did you know that he would like kind of force people to let him marry their very young daughters and things like that. And it was just little bit by bit. And then even in my head, I just started asking myself the question, like, because I started thinking about other people who have started churches. I started thinking about L. Ron Hubbard, and I started thinking about, even the story of Muhammad. It's very similar. The guy goes to a cave and he prays and he asks God, I need to know the truth. And God reveals a book to him, and he translates the book and he brings it back, and the book is the Quran. Like, it's just, I started thinking about that, and I started thinking, what's more likely that my religion's story, that has a very similar story to lots of other religions, that there's this guy who for whatever reason becomes chosen by God to be the vessel for the message. What's more likely that he out of all of them, everyone else's is a lie. They're all shysters and con artists and people who are just trying to get power and money and influence in society, and this was the route that they went about it. Or and then they're all fake, and mine is the one that actually is true, or that he's just another one of those guys. And it was really just that simple question that got me going, I think he was just another one of those guys.
Pretty interesting stuff.
Probably really interesting for people who have had similar experiences growing up in, with religious families, and then starting to question the stories they've been told. And, studying theology is super interesting too, because you see people who have really dug deep into the Bible and the history of it, and usually their faith looks a lot different than people who are just, sort of blindly believing with full-on faith everything in the Bible is correct. With people who study theology have a deeper understanding of it, and even a deeper appreciation for religious tradition.